Order here at the Cherry Valley Public Library District at 10 o'clock a.m. on May 26th. Emily, will you please call roll?
Yes. Dave Barry.
Here.
Stu Busenbark.
And then this one to the left is mute.
Judy Crocker. Kate Hall.
Here.
Mary Jo Matusek.
Here.
Paul Mills.
Here in Bolingbrook.
Scott Poynton.
Here, also in Bolingbrook.
Kathy Parker.
Here.
Dee Reynolds.
Here.
Michelle Simmons. Laura Turner. Dane Ward.
Here in Bloomington.
Lori Wilcox. Harriet Zipka.
Very good, thank you. Okay, we'll start with guests here in Cherry Valley. Introduce yourselves.
Jane Glass Rails.
Wesley Smith, Rails.
Barb Brooks, Rails.
Barb?
Dee Brennan, Rails.
Debbie Bloom, Island Public Library, Belvedere.
Mary Petro, North Suburban Library District, Loves Park, Chesney Park, Roscoe.
Mary Witt, Rails.
Jim Krieger, Rails.
Amanda Salcio Rails. Emily Feister Rails.
Okay, are there any guests in Bolingbrook?
Nope, no guests in Bolingbrook. It's just the two of us.
Okay, Burr Ridge.
Oh,
Ryan Hebbel,
that would be me, right? I'm Diane Carroll, intern.
Debbie Baskey, Rails.
Rhonda Pitchford, Rails.
And Ryan Hebbel Rails. That's it.
And Cook.
There's Harriet. That's
I think, yeah, Galesburg's connected, they were just muted.
okay.
Okay, is anybody in Coal Valley? East Peoria.
There's someone in there.
Is there someone in?
Kendall Orison, Rails.
I can't tell if that's a
Maybe it's the
computer
sign
or
up
a.
Maybe it's the sign over the chair.
Okay.
And
That's Sue.
But Sue's there.
Okay, are there any
Kendall.
guests in Rockford?
There's no one in Rockford.
Illinois State Library.
Good morning, it's the Illinois State Library. Deborah Aggert.
Pat Bose at the State Library.
Pat Berg. Gwen Harrison, State Library.
Tom Huber, State Library. And Greg McCormick.
Is there any guests in Galesburg?
This is Galesburg. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, great. They're both there.
Is anyone in the Quincy Public Library?
That's Judy.
Any guests there? Okay.
Good.
The next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion second to adopt?
So moved?
I'll second.
Moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Agenda adopted. And now may I have a motion for approval of the minutes of the April 28th, 2017 Rails Board meeting.
So moved?
I'll second.
Moved in second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Say no. Anyone abstaining? Motion carried. Jim, you want to give me your financial report?
Yes, you have in the board packets the financial report for the month of April. Not too much has changed, but our cash position keeps dwindling as we await the remainder of our area per capita grant funds due of $3.9 million. Last year it just suddenly appeared about mid-June, and and we're hoping for the same this year. But we've had no indication of when it would be coming. Our general fund unassigned would fund 9.1 months of operations, and we have an assigned balance of 6.4 million, which would be another 7 or 8 million. Next month we'll talk about that, but it looks prudent that we should unassign that since our stated goal is to have 18 months of reserves on hand of operations, so we probably will do that. The expenditures remain below budget, $828,000. Better than half of that is in the general fund.
Office and
The,
conference.
Our salaries, personnel expenditures are $86,912 below budget due to a number of not hiring people, and partially offset by higher delivery expenditures. We continue to think that we will be a bit below budget, at least $100,000 to $200,000 for the year on our expenditures. Although one of the items, our grants for libraries joining LSAPs will meet the budgeted amount rather than be below. The demand was a bit heavier than we thought, but we will be under on our personnel and some other expenditures. Can I answer any questions?
Okay, I don't hear any questions, so may I have a motion to approve the financial report for April 2017?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Hearing none, motion carried. Jim, could you talk about our expenditures?
Yes, at
One moment. Harriet and Michelle left. We don't know why.
Well, oh,
Does that ruin our, does that mess up our quorum?
No, it's still forum, but.
And I could hear them talking, so I know it was live.
I know, so.
Once they have the volume turned down and couldn't hear the response,
We didn't hear.
we're having
Do
some
we-
call to find out what's going on.
do we need to pause until they are
I
reached?
think as long as we have a
Somebody's
quorum.
back. It's Michelle and Harriet from Galesburg.
Okay, were you not connected properly? Because we could see and hear you.
I don't think. Hey, Michelle and Harriet, were you not able to hear us? Because we were able to see and hear you on the Polycom.
We could not hear you. We could see you, but we could not hear you.
Check the volume on the TV.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're glad that you joined us by phone.
Okay, Jim,
Okay,
could you,
soon. At the end of the finance report, there's a listing of the expenditures that Rails made for the month of April. They total $1,003,169.02.
was there anything abnormal in those?
Now, there were a number of group purchases, again, which will be reimbursed by the subscribers. And we made a quarterly payment to Swan of $155,000, so that kind of bumped the number up.
And I will do it back here.
$800,000.
Kick shoes off, and then I lose my shoes.
And see, I'm not in the picture there.
Oh, Judy, can you hear us?
Oh, wait.
Can
you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Okay. You're good, Judy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I think now I'll need a motion. Well, first, any more questions for Jim on the expenditures? Okay, I'll need a motion to approve the check register for April 2017 in the amount of $1,003,000. $169.02.
So moved.
I'll second, Paul.
Okay, moved and
Thanks,
second.
Kathy.
Sure, Paul.
Emily, call roll.
Dave Barry.
Yes.
Sue Busenbark.
Yes.
Judy Crocker. Kate Hall.
Yes.
Mary Jo Matusek.
Yes.
Paul Mills.
Yes.
Kathy Parker.
Yes.
Scott Poynton.
Yes.
Dee Reynolds.
Yes.
Michelle Simmons.
Yes.
Dane Ward.
Yes.
Harriet Zippel.
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved. Okay, before we start reports, I just want to point out, when we go into executive session, Kate will be giving the board members a password.
Yes, so I have print copies for Dee's evaluation, but since not everyone is here, I asked Emily to email out to everyone a password-protected document so that other people could see it, and so I will give everyone the password during executive session so that you can open the document. But just so that you're aware and can check your Rails email and pull that up.
Thank you. Okay, Dee, we would start with your reports.
I think you're first. Do you have any more president report?
No, I don't.
You don't? Okay, got it. Okay. So,
Do we need to do the committee reports?
yep, the committee reports.
Yeah, oh, excuse me, yes.
That's all right.
Consortium
I think
Committee.
Yes, sir. So the committee as a group has not met since the last board meeting. However, the Rails Consortium Model Working Group did meet, in fact, yesterday. And just as a reminder, this is a working group of the Consortia Committee that is charged with, and I just want to quote this, with sustainability, equity, and stewardship as goals, develop a model of what Illinois consortia could look like in 5 years. A couple other things, but I think I would just wanted to mention that. And I am not actually part of that working group, so I don't know, Dee, if there's anything you want to add to that meeting yesterday?
Yes, thank you, Paul. I was going to talk about that under my report, but we will talk about it now. The committee did meet, or the working group did meet yesterday. Jane and Ann and I are ex officio members. Sue Bochensky is the chair, and the other members are Aaron Skog from Swan and Kendall from RSA. Emily Porter, who is at the Byron Public Library. She is from Prairie Cat. She's, I think, going to be the president. Debbie Bloom from Nick and the Ida Public Library. And who'd I forget? Anybody? Those are the committee members. And then Pat Bowes is ex officio from the State Library, and Leslie Bednar. And everybody was there yesterday, so that was really great. And this is a really difficult but necessary task that we have set this group to look at, as Paul read the charge, ways of becoming more sustainable. And so we had a really, really good conversation about the effects of the loss of funding to the LSAPs if Rails could not continue to support them. And Sue tasked us with looking at a number of things before our next meeting in the middle of June, June 20th. Things like, cost-saving possibilities through further mergers, looking at the OCLC situation, because we do spend a lot of money annually on that, $5 million. Models in other states where they have different kinds of systems that aren't multi-type, so that resource sharing can be more affordable for school libraries, for example, or specials. So anyway, it was a really, really good meeting, and I think we're going to be able to accomplish a lot. So that's the report, Paul.
Thank you, Dee.
Okay, anything further, Paul?
Nope, not at this time, sir.
Okay, very good. Kathy, do you have anything from the delivery committee?
No, we've not met in a very long time, and there's really nothing to report.
Okay. And neither does the executive committee have any report at this time. Kate, do you have anything to report from the policy committee?
Just that we had brought up some things at last month's meeting, and we're hoping to meet before this meeting, but that did not happen, but we will be meeting in June. So hopefully we'll have something for the next board meeting.
Okay, thank you. Kathy, I understand you'll be discussing the standards under.
Yeah.
Okay. And Dave, back to you for the nominating committee.
Yeah, so the nominating committee did meet yesterday as a part of their role to confirm the election results, which they did do. And I will be, or am in the process of notifying the candidates of the results of the election now that it's official. And as soon as they know, I will let the board know, and we will let the membership know as well. They also discussed the development of the slate, which is, of course, also in the nominating, the slate of officers for next year, which is also part of their role according to the bylaws. So they and I will be working on that over the next few days as well. And that slate will be presented, the proposed slate from the nominating committee will be presented to the board at the June meeting. And then obviously there's a vote at the July meeting. This is the way the bylaws call for it to be handled. Obviously, it's very likely, fine, whatever, for if, the board, if there's are other nominations at the time of the election, but we're just, going through the bylaws. I know there had been a couple of questions about that, but that's the way it's set up. So that is the nominating committee report.
Do we know how many people voted?
Yes, 200 people voted. And we did have a conversation about that. I know, Kate, at the committee meeting yesterday. And I think, being a glass is half full, or even 3/4 full person.
Yes. I'm glad 200 people did.
I just want to say that I think, to me, and I said this to the committee yesterday, I like to gauge the interest in Rails also by the number of people who run for office. And we had quite very well contested elections in the other librarian positions, which has not always been the case. I was very pleased about that. And it's not necessarily a bad thing that people don't find anything controversial or exciting.
I was going to say, I would imagine if we were maybe in a direction that people weren't happy with, there would be a lot more people voting or running.
Yeah.
And, being that people are seem like they're happy with the way we're, moving in the directions of, maybe that's a good sign.
Which is not to say that it wouldn't be great if 1,300 people voted. I'm not arguing that. I am pointing out, other considerations, and really, Mary, she pushed it in the e-news, but
kudos, because I feel like the word was out there.
Absolutely.
This was definitely not from a lack of communication.
And I'm not going to lie, I voted the last day. I hate to say that, but I literally voted the last day, probably hours before it was done. And we know that would be me, I'm a procrastinator.
So anyway, that's probably more than you wanted to know, but.
Okay. Well, why don't you just go right into your executive report now?
Sure, I will be happy to do that. So the first thing that I want to announce is that Dave Barry, our illustrious president, has been selected as the ILA Trustee of the Year. So
thank you very much.
I thought you were going to say it, but since you did it, I did. So
Okay.
Great, Dave. So congrats.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Let's see. I wanted to let you all know that the Matson Area Public Library District Board of Trustees is having a meet and greet with state elected officials on Wednesday, June 7th at the library. I think we could probably scan and email this around, but I did want to just say it to you all, out loud, because I think that's great that they're doing that. And so maybe people in the general, and that next course will be in Springfield. But in any case, I think it's great. So we will scan, if you would do that next week, Emily, and send it around. Let's see, I already talked to you about the consortia committee. I also wanted to tell you, Jane said to me yesterday that this week was a week for big projects. And in addition to that really productive meeting yesterday, on Monday, was it Monday? Or you had the last of the overlay demos, I think. So that was a huge undertaking. Kudos on that. Jane West also with the IT, the connections for that were a little interesting sometimes. We also had a meeting about the Directors University that is happening starting on June 5th, which is 63 new library directors from around the state will be meeting for 4 days in Springfield to learn all about how to be a library director. Thank you to the State Library. They've been really a major part of the planning, and the meetings will be taking place at the State Library. We also had a very good session with the folks from the Laboratory for Applied Spatial Analysis on Wednesday, I think. They drove up from Edwardsville to talk to us about delivery and routes and how to make it more efficient and cheaper.
So they actually had, they evaluate what we're doing?
They're going to. Okay. What they're doing is this was like a big day of information download. They're going to create a database that has everything in it, like the libraries, the volume, the location, the consortia, the hub, and, come up with the best, routing that they can for the state. And we'll see what we can do.
They weren't one of the ones that, we only had the one person, that one company that did, right? So
no, they did not, because,
option.
Right. And this, we told them to assume, like a blank slate, no hubs, just.
No assumptions whatsoever.
Right.
There's nothing to.
So there may be a meeting of the delivery committee to look at that.
I'm more than happy to be on it.
Tuesday, Ann Slaughter and I spent the day with Prairie Cat doing strategic planning with them, so that's great that they're moving that forward. Told you about the nominating committee, the consortia committee, and then today we have the board meeting. So it's been a busy week, and also something else happened on Monday that I wanted to make you aware of, which is that Barb Brooks has resigned her position to accept another position, so we will be dealing with that transition as well. So it's certainly been one of those weeks. So in addition to all of that, you have my written report, which I am happy to answer any questions about if you have any, or anything I just said out loud, too. Any questions?
Hearing no questions, we'll move down to the service and operations report.
Okay. Well, I gave you a lot of the highlights. Natalie DeJong has also left Rails. She's gone. She was stolen from us by Jim Deiters from the Oak Lawn Public Library, but, that's good for him, good for her. It's a good move for her. She's going to be head of technology engagement.
It's a new position.
Yeah, which is, I think she'll be great at. Our construction project will be, in Burr Ridge, will be beginning on June 5th. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later in terms of board meetings, but any questions about anything?
Okay, thank you, and good luck, Barb. And now we have the Illinois State Library report. Greg.
Well, good morning and greetings from Secretary White and the staff here at the State Library. I have, I guess, about 6 points to go over. The first, and probably the one that everyone's most eager to learn more about, is the budget situation, what is occurring, what has occurred across the street. Those of you who have followed this quite closely know that the Senate did pass an expenditure plan for FY18. It was based upon, it's easiest to say FY15 numbers as far as library programs are concerned, and operations of the Greater Secretary of State's office. But there were some reductions that were proposed. It is far from over in this process. We believe that something will occur over the weekend, or that is the indication, as far as the House taking action on that plan or a plan of its own. But then, of course, there's ultimately approval necessary by the governor's office on that. There was also a revenue plan put in place as far as increased income tax and a number of other taxes on services. Again, approval in the House, action by the House on a new bill, and then ultimately approval by the governor would be necessary on that. So we will see where this goes over the weekend and early next week, and come back to you. Right now, as far as what the state library is doing for FY18, we're still forging ahead with plans. As we said before, we're receiving grant applications. We are indeed reviewing those now and during the month of June. We still anticipate receiving the library systems plan, services, and budgets. If it is necessary to alter those budgets, we will come back to you. So it's literally the same direction that we have given before. At the same time, we're looking at what, and as many of you are as well, what is going on at the federal level with the federal budget that was released earlier this week. Many of you and the library community has been very engaged in responding to the proposed budget that was released a number of weeks ago regarding elimination of IMLS. Indeed, our news, the news that came out of IMLS's own news release was that for FY18, there was a $23 million allotment given to them to phase out operations. Again, that is far, far from over. There's much resistance to what's contained in that federal budget. Do not know where IMLS will fall in that. Of course, we are hopeful. Of course, we are concerned. Loss of an FY18 allotment would impact this office and what we do with that funding for the Illinois library community in FY19. So we have a lot of consideration to do as we start formulating the FY19 budget next fall. Things that did continue. Dee mentioned that Directors University is coming here June 5th through 8th. There's no need for me to elaborate on that. We're very excited about that group being here. I think it's going to be a really great 4 days of training and learning for the group of library directors. On June 7th, it is also Gwendolyn Brooks' 100th birthday. as the namesake for our building. We're doing a bit of a celebration during the lunch break of Directors University for those who wish to attend. In the author's room, we have at least 9, maybe a 10th reader for a bit of a poetry slam, which we did a number of years ago honoring Gwendolyn Brooks. We have also pulled together a number of items we had all over this building about her. Her official portrait that was given to us by the family a number of years ago, photographs we have of her at different library events, including the grand opening of this building, and a number of her works are now permanently displayed in a much more prominent manner within the Illinois Authors Room, and we're excited about that for people to see it. It's really quite an interesting collection. That particular poetry event will be open to anyone who wants to come, but certainly we will have an audience built in that day on her 100th birthday. We also hosted the Targeting Autism Forum, May 11th and 12th. That seemed to be quite a successful event. There were around 80 attendees at that event. We're now starting to receive a number of very positive letters about the impact of the programming, what people learned, and we're always very, very glad to hear that. This, of course, is an initiative that has been funded by IMLS. Unfortunately, I don't know what would come in the future. We have one more session to be completed in FY18, and we will see what may become of programs like that in the future if IMLS would no longer have funding for something like that. But let's be hopeful. We did meet with the Rails group and Heartland group on May 17th regarding the unserved. We felt that was a very, very productive session. Lots of information exchanged by everyone in attendance. We look forward to another session focusing on possibilities. I think that, after 60 years of history and documents on that topic, that the one thing I believe we left with was it is probably not a one solution for every situation across the state. There may be a number of things that need to be done to further address this issue, most of which I would say are possible under current legislation and administrative rule regarding this issue. So we look forward to that. I know that's been of interest to both library systems. It's always a point of interest with the state library, but we learned a lot about the challenges on what this issue really can bring to local libraries, and as libraries try to address it in the area surrounding their community and service areas. I think that's it for now. So, questions?
I believe, Greg, we're going to be waiting to see what happens next week. And I think that's going to drive a lot of us.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of questions after that.
Yes, it is.
True.
Okay, well, I want to thank you very much for that update.
Thank you.
And now we'll move down to new business. Amanda?
Maybe have her come over here because we only have the one mic. So I don't know, just so that.
I think
or we
so.
could move the mic over just so that people can.
The acoustics are kind of tricky too, I think. with the
Here.
bulk.
Yeah.
Okay. On May 4th, I visited the St. Andrew Catholic School in Rock Falls and determined this library meets Rails membership requirements. I would like to request the Rails board vote to recommend membership of the school to the Illinois State Library. During my visit, a first grade class was in the library. They seemed extremely enthusiastic, more so than I've seen. And so I kind of questioned the librarian about this, and she said that they tend to have a lot of activities in the library, and that really draws the students there. Every class visits the library at least once a week. And besides the materials and checking out books and that excitement, that particular day they had 1-week-old ducklings in the library. So that is very cute. That's just one example of all the activities they have going on.
So did the children make way for ducklings? Sorry,
Yes, so it's definitely the center of the school. And the library is very popular, so, all right. Any questions?
Didn't I also read that this library might join the Rock River Library Consortium?
They are
which
in
is
the
really
consortium
great.
currently.
Oh, okay.
That's why they wanted Rails.
Got it,
Yes,
okay.
correct.
Oh, that's right,
Yes,
yes.
exactly.
So that's great.
I was curious, I know in the challenges it said that they don't have a budget for computers.
Right.
If there are libraries that have, say, a 4-year computer replacement plan that often look for opportunities to donate said computers, do you know, are they open to and looking for a donation?
Definitely, and we did discuss that, and I
Okay.
pointed them to the free and for sale board too, so, yes, yeah, that'd be great, all right, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Amanda.
Okay.
Are there any questions for Amanda on this library?
When can we get ducklings at Rails?
As soon as the ones catch in my yard. So I got a bunch catching as we speak. I'll bring them in. Yeah. You got keys.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve the recommendation as presented and request final approval from the State Library?
I'll move.
Moved?
I'll second.
Oh,
Mary
Moved
Jo.
and seconded?
sorry. I didn't know Mary Jo could do it.
What's the school?
Mary Jo seconded, so that's good.
Any more discussion on this issue? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. We are recommending their approval to the State Library. D, item 8.2, board meetings during the construction.
Yes, thank you, Dave. So so for our June meeting, we will be in Galesburg. That will be the primary site. But in June, July, August, and potentially September, the Burr Ridge facility will not be available. So we have other sites. We just need a sense of if we should just assume that you will be at one of the other sites, like Bolingbrook or Vernon or here or New Lenox, the ones close to Burr Ridge, or if you want to designate a particular site as the main meeting. Or if you want to wait until July and see what the new board, we just need to
Start planning.
Yeah, we need to begin planning for that.
We need to plan July's first.
Yeah.
We've never been, the Rails main meeting's never been at New Lenox as a video conference site. I mean, it's not terribly far from Burr Ridge, but that might be nice for one of those months to give that a try.
Sure.
They are available, actually.
Yeah, okay. We could go to New Lenox in July. We did go there once, but it was at least once, but it was years ago now.
It was when I was there.
You were there,
So-
yeah. But that's great. So shall we go to New Lenox in July then?
Yeah, and then are there other places that we haven't visited recently that, I'm trying to think of all of the video conferencing. We're going to Galesburg.
Excuse me, Dee.
Yes, we haven't been to Aurora.
Before these other sites, what sort of infrastructure do we need there to have a meeting?
Well, we have the Polycom, so we would only go places where we have the infrastructure.
Okay.
And so, yeah, Aurora is also a good suggestion.
And
We
Aurora
have-
isn't that far either in terms of, it's a little bit further west.
Have you
but-
checked on Aurora?
They're getting there.
Okay.
And Vernon area as well.
Pardon me?
Vernon area as well. It's getting
Okay, it's getting back. Yes, we'll only go to Polycom sites.
Okay, very
Yep.
good.
And is Bolingbrook big enough? Do they have a larger room that would seat all of us?
No.
Right? Yeah,
If you
'cause I
can
don't
see Scott and I, this is.
I'm like, I
this
thought that
is
was the only one, right? Well, it would be cozy.
Right, but it's still possible to attend a meeting there, obviously, but just
Yes.
not to have the whole group there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How long has it been since we've been to Coal Valley? I feel like it's been. a
We
while.
were there last fall.
Was it last fall? Okay. Just to kind of hit some, since we have to be
Well, we
away,
could go there in
it's-
September.
Yeah.
Because I think it's best to assume we will not be at Burr Ridge in September.
That sounds good.
So we could
Coal
we
Valley
could
sounds
check
good
on
too.
Coal Valley for September. Shall we check on Aurora for
Could we maybe,
August?
Why not?
Oops.
or
Okay.
Vernon, if they're not available?
Okay. All right,
Vernon's fine.
good. Okay. All right, well, we'll confirm all that. But anyway, in June, we're in Galesburg. So,
At 1.
yes, and we will invite the new board members to attend the board meeting in June in some fashion or another, so.
And this is the week before the normal board meeting.
Yes, it's a week early, yes.
June 16th.
Because of ALA.
Yes, and what time of day is it?
1.
1, okay, which is, of course, on my report, but I don't have that in front of me. Okay, so,
The next item is 8.3.
which is related also.
Right.
So, and it's hard to discuss the board meeting schedule without having all of the board members, the new board members here. So we'll have to discuss it again. But, we do meet we have always met on the fourth Friday of the month at 1 p.m. We have discussed changing that in the past and never have because it works. So I bring that up just to find out if you want us to do anything about that at this point, even though we're going to have to discuss it again in July. Yeah. Stick with that for.
I
yeah.
would stick with that.
Okay. So we'll put a schedule together. We're going to have to change, we'll have to change November because of Thanksgiving, March because of PLA, and June because of ALA. Those are the ones we know of right now. But nothing to, vote on today. We just wanted to get that out there. I wrote that all down, so.
And then since we're really for the first 3 months we'll be off-site, then I know we always try and do, which I hope we can continue doing, visiting other sites.
Yep, we
but,
will.
Not during winter months, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That didn't go
That's
well.
nice that we're starting. No, yeah, it's good effort.
Yeah.
Any-
Okay.
Any further discussion of this issue regarding the meetings? Okay, we'll continue this. And now we're going to put on unfinished business. Gee.
All right.
Item 9.1.
Yes, okay. So, well, as, to sort of pick up where Greg left off a little bit, so we don't yet know what our budget will be. Hopefully we'll know next week or sometime soon. So we are asking the board today to approve the budget and per capita grant application for FY18. And it is based, as you all know, we discussed it last month. We've discussed our project list for 18 multiple times. We are following what the State Library has directed us to do, which is to assume full funding at this point and be ready to modify it if and when necessary. As you know, we've talked a lot about what we'll need to do if we do need to cut the budget, and we are prepared to do that. We've showed you what the sort of discretionary projects are that we might be able to eliminate or suspend or downsize. I think we will not be immediately filling any of the positions that are vacant.
Except ours.
Right, because that just doesn't make sense to bring people on when you don't know what's coming, and et cetera. So you have the plan and the budget in your packet. Jim wrote a great budget narrative that really shows how the budget aligns with the plan of service and the priorities. Does anybody have any questions about any of it at this point? I mean, if we have to change it, then you're going to have lots of questions.
Yeah.
Hearing no questions, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the fiscal year 2018 system area and per capita grant applications.
I'll move.
So moved.
I'll let Scott do it. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on this issue at this time? Emily, will you please call roll?
Dave Fury.
Yes.
Sue Busenbark.
Yes.
Judy Crocker.
Yes.
Kate Hall.
Yes.
Mary Jo Matusek.
Yes.
Paul Mills.
Yes.
Kathy Parker.
Yes.
Scott Poynton.
Yes.
Dee Reynolds.
Yes.
Michelle Simmons.
Yes.
Dane Ward.
Yes.
Harriet Zippel.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Thank you, everyone, for your support. And like I say, we'll certainly, I hope we don't have to have those conversations, but
That
we're
would be
ready to have
wonderful.
them if we have to have them, so.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item, 9.2, system membership standards.
Well, we've been working on membership standards for about 3 years, I'd say. A lot of work. We had originally a committee of about 50. I think we're down into 30s now, as people have dropped off. But we did work very diligently to look at all libraries in Rails and thought about, potentially being statewide standards. So looking at Heartland, we did a Heartland representation on the committee and state library representation as well. So after a lot of review and discussion, and actually with Jane saying last year, we really need to have standards that are measurable, that really cut down a lot of what we had into this much more manageable packet. And the Membership Standards Committee did approve these last August. So we're just asking to get the board's approval so we can move that forward and start working on the CE components, so we can start working on that and start talking to the members about what this means to them and how we can start working with the members that maybe are in those marginal areas that they can't quite meet some of the standards.
Is there any more discussion? Questions?
In Dee's background statement, or in her director's report, and also in the cover thing that came with that, she noted that she'd had a conversation with Greg at the State Library and that he may have some concerns, and I'd be interested to see if Greg would like to expand upon those.
Sure. We do have some concerns. And, the document as a whole is great as, this is what we would want libraries to aspire to, regardless of the type of library they are. it's really a great document for ILA's document for public libraries and Islami's Linking to Learn document for school libraries. Again, it's what we hope libraries could achieve, but the fact remains that a number of libraries can't attain core level in certain areas of document, whether it's collection or hours. When we look at the collection document, and two, I think measurability is an issue when you're talking about anyone but public libraries, because public libraries are the only library type that we have measurable reporting. There would need to be a mechanism put in place, you know, if this was a Rails membership criteria where you could actually get to the percentage of the collection, hours served, you know, by other types of libraries. It might be interesting, but a lot of the burden here remains on public, so let's focus on that. We know that 25%, based upon the last IPLAR statistics, 25% of the public libraries in this state do not meet the percentage of expenditure level on the collection that is stated in this for a core level. We also looked at that nationwide to see just how far is Illinois different, and nationwide 25% of public libraries would not meet that standard. So that component of collection is questionable in our minds, but when you're talking about essentially, and we'll talk about the waiver process, possibly not allowing those libraries that don't meet that to have resource sharing capabilities or grants from this office, because you must be a system member to achieve that. Similarly, when we're talking about public service areas or public service hours, when I quickly looked at some libraries across the state that wouldn't achieve that, there were libraries such as Quincy Public Library, Moline Public Library, Lincoln Library here in Springfield, the Champaign Public Library, and the Rockford Public Library. We don't believe meet that hour of service level. So we've been concerned about that. I think that, you know, the waiver process is certainly well articulated. Our reservation there would be that while the current leadership of the library system may be willing to do a 2-year waiver, future administrators of the system, whether it's the executive director or the board, might not be so. When you talk about removing libraries from system membership, no longer making them eligible for grants from our office, that gets into an area where the state librarian gets heavily involved. And it also sometimes we'll bring in many people who are interested in this, and I mean at a legislative level, but aren't actively engaged in it on a daily basis. And I would just caution the board about implementing such when we know going into it without further funding in many cases, whether it's funding for collection or extending hours, or even employing people at certain levels, there may be some serious problems, and that's funding that we certainly don't have the capability of offering to the library community right now. And I would also caution that given the significant discussion about property tax freezes that is ongoing in the General Assembly from both sides of the aisle, that when the majority of these libraries, even if you're easily meeting those standards now. If property tax freezes go into place, it may be more and more difficult to those libraries who are presumably comfortable as these are implemented, and their ability to meet those standards in the future, because some of it will either take an alteration of existing budgetary dollars or indeed new revenue. And the prospects of that seem very challenging right now from the prospects of public libraries, public school libraries, community college libraries, and quite honestly, even in the academic community.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. I'd just like to say, particularly as it comes to the property tax freeze, which as I read a lot about this, it certainly is an issue that has comes up and up and up again, and we all know, particularly when it comes to public libraries, which is what Greg was talking about, this is where the majority of every public library funding comes from. I would have concerns about these standards while this conversation about a property tax freeze is ongoing, and I would not feel comfortable voting for these standards unless we found some mechanism to address that possibility.
Sure. Thank you both, and I know Kathy wants to speak also, but I guess what I'm envisioning is that the board approves these as a draft, or with the written understanding that we will review them in a year after testing them with members. I mean, part of the difficulty we're having, Greg cited a lot of statistics about who might or might not meet the requirements. I mean, we looked at that over and over as well. And sometimes I just have to say, sometimes there are easy fixes, in my opinion, easy fixes. I can think of one library in particular that has, a smallish library, not one of the ones you named, but it has like 3 or 4 branches, doesn't meet the hour standards. All the branches are open at the same time. They could change the hours a little bit and meet the hour standard. I'm not saying that is totally easy, but I just want to make it clear that there are ways of complying with these that really aren't going to be very expensive. However, that all being said, I don't disagree with anything that Paul said or anything that Greg said, but I do think that we have to do something today that will allow us to get these out to the library community, to have a broader discussion, and to invite libraries that are interested, and many are, which Kathy can speak to, in going through a test run of these and, seeing what we can do. And then, we're, of course, willing to modify these. We've modified them already lots of times. And then finally, sometimes, libraries need something to aspire to. We were told that over and over again by people in meetings and on the committee, et cetera. So, we got to move this forward somehow. I'm not disagreeing with anything you said, but we've got to take we got to make some kind of forward progress here.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to start with something so that we can start looking at the components of concern. I myself do not meet the serving our public minimum collection requirement for my library, mostly because my collection is not, my circulation is down, my patrons aren't checking books out. So I don't need that as well. However, I can find ways to readjust that. I think it's a conversation I think we have to have with different libraries. But again, I hear a lot at every meeting I go to, what do I need to have? What do I tell my board? And there's nothing really to say. The standards are what they were 6 years ago when we merged all of our systems. So I would like just to see us start with something, tweak it as we need to. I love the idea of reviewing it. I'm concerned about the property tax. Believe me, I've lost $400,000 of revenue in the last 4 years. I'm very concerned about it. So it's been tough, but I think it's something we need to start with start having those real tangible conversations with the libraries and start working on some CE components, because that's something that we really need.
Right, and one of the things that Greg and I talked about was maybe implementing them in phases, and so maybe we don't initially do, not that we, but I'm thinking they're actually implemented, but, we defer the hours open and the collection, and we, but that means we can work on some of the other standards that we have, so, I mean, it's very flexible, yes.
I have a couple questions. If we approve these standards as written, then they become our document going forward, unless we unless we revisit them now and say this is going to be in phase one, such and such a year, such and such a year.
Yep.
And I would like to see that done first before we adopt them, so when they leave this board, it's done.
Okay.
I mean, yes, we have to have some sort of language in them that they can be reviewed in a year or 6 months or something like that before they leave this board, before we put any sort of obligation on our members or on the state library.
That makes sense to me.
So you're talking, Dave, of like approving the standards in theory as they sit, and then us going back as a committee and working on that phasing implementation to bring back to the board with the process.
Correct.
Approving the process.
Do you want to revisit the whole thing in June? With those implementation issues kind of written down? I mean, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, we could work.
Yeah, we'll just,
Because we can definitely pull out the pieces we can move forward on quickly, like working on the CE components.
Yep.
And then looking at these other issues, to kind of back burner those.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you, Paul? Is that better?
Yeah, it does. It does. And, just an add thing, Greg talked about the property tax freeze, and certainly I did too, and others have. The other thing I always look, and whether it's going to come to pass or not, I don't know, but I look at the Senate's grand bargain that they keep talking about, and in the context of public libraries again, which again, where you've got these measurable things that can bite, you've got the potential from the property tax freeze at one angle, the minimum wage bill, which comes up a knot, which for a lot of libraries is going to be an issue, because a lot of libraries do start their not just their pages, but their search staff at minimum wage. They would be feeling pressure from both angles, and then I feel that our standards have the ability to provide standard pressures from yet another angle, and those movable pieces at this particular juncture in time concern me. I like the standards. I think they're great. It's just the particular environment we're in at this time.
Sure.
Is a lot.
Well, we'll know more in June.
Reynolds here.
I was going to ask you, Paul, because we'll know in a couple of weeks.
Hopefully, yeah.
Where we're going.
Maybe.
From your lips. Who? Oh, okay, sorry.
Dee Reynolds, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Dee.
Yes. I'm just, and I apologize because I've missed some board meetings here, but I'd like to know, have we had polled our members? Do they have a copy of these standards? And can we get an idea of who's going to fail some of these points and who's passed them? I mean, do we know where our membership stands? I'm on the Moline Public Library Board of Directors, and I know that our hours are reduced. And I also know that we just hired recently a new director for our library who does not have an MLS. And he's doing a really good job for us and taking other coursework. And so I guess, I think before I would want Moline Public Library to be, I'd like to see how we all pull out on this thing. Have we had any of these meetings, or?
Yes, we've had so many meetings. Oh my God, we've had so many meetings.
I mean, they were up for how many months for review and the meetings at different libraries and the Rails updates.
Many people make comments.
Have you had responses from the membership then?
Yes, Dee.
Pardon me?
We have, it's Mary Jo. We have had lots and lots of comments from members. I'm on the committee too, so that's why I'm answering. We've had lots and lots of comments. The membership standards as they stand now have even been changed based on what people have said.
Yes.
Right.
We also presented at ILA last year to a fairly large crowd.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been
I
out
recall
as it
that
sits
at
for
the
over a year.
board meeting we had in Bull Valley.
And we presented at ISLAMA as well, the School
Right.
Library Association. But that's not to say that we can't get more comments. Like I say, I mean, I'm very comfortable, particularly given that we may know more in, 3 days. I just want to, get somewhere, and I feel like we're getting somewhere, so that's good. So we will go back. I think that we have our staff group that you're part of too, Kathy, and we can invite other people and work on some implementation, phase-in ideas, and bring that back to the board in June. I think that's great.
Hey, Dee, this is Scott. Do you think I don't know how much work this would be, but would it be possible to have like a chart or a list or something that just shows every library that wouldn't meet these standards if they were enacted, today? Like, to be able to see that before we vote next month?
Yep, we have that information. We've looked at it. We've sliced and diced that so many different ways. The only thing I would caution is that it is, well, we can work on that. I mean, it's self-reported, so sometimes we had some questions, but
And I think
the short answer is yes.
I think it's also important to note that sometimes people can perceive it being impossible, kind of to what Dee was saying, to comply, but that actually little tweaks can change things. I mean, when I was at New Lenox, the board tasked me with finding a way for us to be open more hours, and we were able to do that without adding any costs to the budget, and just rearranging some things and looking at staff workflow and assessing community need. And we were able to add 8 and then another 2 hours a couple months later. So we added 10 hours within like the first 9 months of my being there, which before had been said to be like, well, that's just impossible. Like, we can't, there's no way. And so I think some of this is also how you're perceiving it. And I know that there certainly are libraries that their budgets are very, very restricted, and that is more difficult. But I think that if we don't have the conversation and don't put it out there, people won't take it as something they have to do if it's only something that we're talking about, and it won't give us the opportunity to engage in conversation and help them come up with solutions.
I think it's kind of ironic in a way that everybody that I talked to about it was so worried about the educational requirement. But I think we found a great solution to that, if I do say so, on behalf of the committee, in terms of the training that we can provide. All people have to be doing is be willing. All they have to do is be willing to do it, willing to learn and be able to do their jobs better. The collection one, I mean, it's the problem with measurable things. Sometimes when you measure them, you find out things that you wish you didn't know. But and that's why we have a waiver process. But at a certain point, there's going to be a line, and I understand that that's a hard thing. But so we'll look at it again. But I would just, I guess, as a final note, say that the committee was very representative of the membership and of libraries, and they're committed to drawing that line at some point. So I just want to, those are our members too. So as well as the libraries that won't meet, potentially might not meet. So.
And we truly thought, that was going in, even when, Dee and I were talking about starting the committee. Going in, I very much wanted Heartland to be represented in some way, because I hope, Heartland libraries, and Rails libraries, we have a lot of similarities. Just because we're north and south doesn't mean that we all don't have the same issues in our systems. So with having Ellen Poppett on the committee, and so, you know, representing that. And then a lot of the people on our committee are from those smaller libraries that maybe weren't meeting some of those standards. So we definitely had that representation.
So we will talk again next month.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for a very good and helpful discussion. We appreciate it.
The next item is Board Development Legislative Update. I think we've hit. Do you have anything more to add?
Well, I just wanted to be sure that you saw the materials that we sent out that that Kate and I did receive at National Library Legislative Day. Greg very helpfully gave us a great legislative update. I didn't know if you wanted to add anything about your experience there, or if anybody had any questions. I mean, we've had yet another budget submitted since we were there, but did you want
this was my first time going to Library Legislative Day in DC, and it was really amazing, the sheer volume of information that you receive, because I like to think that I read stuff and I stay informed, and there's still so much out there that you can't even touch upon. So that part of it was incredibly helpful for me. And I will say that I was very fortunate that all of the people that represent my library are all very supportive. And so it was a very positive experience of, you know, how can we help you? How can you help us? And what are we doing to help make libraries sustainable and the best they can be for their communities? So that was very fortunate. We had some really great conversations, and I think that the two things that I would say my biggest takeaways were that the two newspapers down there, Roll Call and I can't remember the name of the other one. I put them on my phone because
Capitol Hill or something.
The Hill,
right?
Were that's like the news sources that all of the legislators use, which I had not been aware of previously. And so now reading those and just seeing the ads that are in those is very interesting, because I think it gives you a different perspective of the information that's being fed to the legislators. You know, I have spoken with legislators when they are here in their district and met with them and spoken with them, but it's a very different feel being down in Washington. And I think I would encourage everyone who has the opportunity to go down there and participate in this. It is a little exhausting, but it is very insightful, because you realize just how much goes on and everything that has to happen, and get really a better sense of what you can do to help your legislators. I give them a lot of information, but just tailoring it more to the things that they're very passionate about, and being able to have a conversation with them was really wonderful. It felt a little scarier going in this time, just because of some of the things that were on the table with IMLS and NEA and NEH, but I was very glad that I was able to go and learned a lot, and was happy to be able to advocate for libraries, and would encourage others, if you have the opportunity to do that, or if not, even just doing the ILA one that we do in Springfield. You connect with legislators in a different way than you do when they're in their home office. So.
Okay.
And
thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I just wanted to add that when I think when we were was it last month we were in East Peoria? It is, right? It was? Yeah.
Sure. Yes.
So, and I think I told you that on our way there, Veranda and I we delivered a couple of foam checks, one of them to Bushnell and the other one to Marcel's. And when I was in Washington, I went to visit Representative LaHood, who serves Bushnell, told him about the grant that we gave. And in Marcel's, I think that was Representative Kinzinger, told his aide And it was great because I had a newspaper article with a picture of the foam check and how happy the library people were that I could just give to her. And it was like, she had a question about LSTA, and I was able to show her this, picture of LSTA funds at work. So it was really great.
Oh, the one fun, like my favorite fact that I came away with was that federal library funding is equivalent to buying one new fighter jet. Which I was like, that's very interesting. And Jan Schakowsky thought it was interesting as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so,
Okay. Thank you.
yes, you're welcome.
The next item on the agenda is 11, Rail Board Member Reports. Anyone have anything to report?
I just wanted to give two really quick announcements, or just cool things that have happened at my library recently. We had, shortly after Legislative Day, the next week in fact, we had a naturalization ceremony at our library. Congressman Schneider's office had contacted us to use our auditorium, and so we had 80 people become citizens in the library, and that was pretty amazing. And we hope to be able to do that more.
That's great.
And we're very excited to be able to do that kind of thing, and feel that that's such a good part of what we do in connecting people with information and resources, and we're able to give them some information about the library after they became citizens. And then we just had last week our first live TEDx event, Embrace the Unexpected, and we had 4 speakers who came and talked about everything from how to win every argument to how to never say never and how a smile can change a life. And those are going to hopefully be up on the TED website in a month or 2. And so when that happens, I will share those with people if you're interested. But we were very excited. It was a lengthy process to plan and select speakers, but it was something that the community really responded very well to, and we had a lot of great feedback and some really amazing talks from local community members.
Cool.
So,
Okay. Any other reports? Okay. The next item on the business is our closed session. The board will move into closed session to discuss matters pertaining to personnel as per 5 Illinois Compiled Statute, Chapter 120, Paragraph 2, Section C1, which states, exceptions. A public body may hold closed meetings to consider the following subjects: appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity.
I'll move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
We have to roll call.
Aye. Roll call.
Now we have to do a roll call.
Dave Perry.
Yes.
Sue Lucenberg.
Yes.
Yes. Judy Crocker.
Yes.
Lee Hall.
Yes.
Mary Jo Matusek.
Yes.
Paul Mills.
Yes.
Kathy Parker.
Yes.
Scott Poynton.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Steve Reynolds.
Members on the committee.
Yes.
Michelle Simmons. Dane Ward. Harriet Ziegfeld.
Yes.
Okay.
Dave,
Yes.
we will be disconnecting from the state library and not return. So if you have any questions, please get a hold of us. Have a great rest of your meeting and great weekend, everyone.
Have a good
Okay.
Memorial Day.
Thank you.
Bye, Greg. Bye, everybody.
Do you want me to use my phone for?
Well, I think it would be great if we did 2, just in
Sure,
case.
we can do that.
Might have to take roll also.
had to leave, but we still have a quorum, so just so you know.
Okay, all in favor of the motion to come back into open session, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we're back in open session.
I would like to make a motion that effective July 1st, the executive director will receive a one-time 3% bonus and an increase in vacation to 6 weeks per year that will comply with the Rails personnel policy.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded.
Roll call?
Roll call?
Dave Barry.
Yes.
Sue Busenbark.
Yes.
Judy Crocker.
Yes.
Kate Hall.
Yes.
Paul Mills.
Yes.
Kathy Parker.
Yeah.
Scott Poynton.
Yes.
Dee Reynolds is gone. Michelle Simmons.
Yes.
Harriet Zipka.
Yes.
And then, as discussed, Dave and I will be meeting with Dee to go over her evaluation that we just discussed. So we will set up a time.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Okay,
We didn't do agenda building before.
we did. We didn't.
We did not.
So I was about to say, it's time for agenda building, and we have some items mentioned in here.
Membership standards for sure.
Yeah, we got to
Right.
add that, membership standards, yep.
And we also have the prevailing wage ordinance, board meeting schedule, and then proposed slate of officers.
And potentially if there are any recommended changes with the area and per capita grant.
Right. Okay.
That should keep us busy.
I was going to say, but should we add a few more things just to, we could do an overnight.
And I have
Emily?
one last thing.
This is Sue. I will not be at the June meeting. I am going to be out of town to a wedding that day,
Okay, thanks, Sue.
just for your information.
Wonder if she's going to the same wedding you're going to.
And I was just
My
going to say,
wedding's in
I'll be out of
Moline,
town for a
Illinois.
wedding.
No.
And I also want to thank all of you. I've enjoyed working with you. I'm planning to be back next as a board member, but I won't be president. But thank you all. I've really enjoyed working with all of you.
Ditto.
And now,
And you won't be here in June.
I won't be here in June.
Right, so,
So I will be
right,
running the meeting.
right.
So
Dee and I.
there's one last item on the agenda.
There is?
Yes, item number 15. Is there a motion?
I move.
Is a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Stick around.
Have a good Memorial Day, everyone.
Everyone have a good Memorial Day.
Bye.
Bye.